Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Condition for sacrificing the life for someone. हदीस में आता है ना, फदा का भी उम्मी, मेरे माँ बाप आप पर कुर्बान हो जाएं, तो उसके लिए क्या कंडीशन है उसको समझा रहे हैं. A few months before the start of Ramadan 1398, Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah was not feeling well. Therefore, he decided to stay in Medina Munawwara during this month. Knowing the severity of his illness, I wrote, if Hazrat Sheikh's lifespan is completed, I am ready to sacrifice my life or donate my life to him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant my life to him. In reply, Hazrat Sheikh wrote, no one can sacrifice his life for someone else. Even prophets were not allowed to do so. Your sacrifice and obedience for me lies in that you should focus on zikr as much as possible. Take an hour or two of zikr and abandon all other tasks and interactions during this, and do whatever you can regarding this, meaning zikrullah. This is for the people who are busy in other tasks, religious education. Hence, if you can have 2 consecutive hours, it will be good. Otherwise, you can split it into 2 parts. The holy month and illness. This year, 1398, I visited Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullahi Alayhi along with some other students. As suggested, the whole month of Ramadan was spent in Medina Munawwara. He offered his prayers of 5 times and Tarawih in his Hujra residence. Sometimes he used to visit Rawda Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam for a few minutes. Moreover, sometimes he also used to offer Fajr prayer in Haram. Because of the severity of illness during those days, all of his khadims were worried. Once I said to Sufiji and others that they shouldn't worry, our Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullahi will surely live for 3 to 4 more years. They asked why. I replied, among the various conditions, including the inclusiveness for a person to be a reviver, among the various conditions included in the inclusiveness for a person to be a reviver, mujaddid. It is necessary that these persons, that his personal beneficence should universally and directly spread in 2 centuries. Therefore, he, meaning Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullahi Alayhi, will live some years of the 2nd century. I also said that Maududi will surely die before the end of the century because he and his organization claim to be a reviver. All praise be to Allah, both of these theories were completed. Meaning, Hazrat Shaykh died in the year 1402. So he lived in 1300 and in 1400. And Maududi died before 1400. As I returned to London on Shawwal 1398 Hijri, Hazrat Sheikh's Rahmatullah's illness duration kept prolonging. Even during the Hajj days of 1398, his condition illness worsened. For a few days, he remained unconscious. A doctor examined him and told him that the blood circulation in one of his veins has stopped and is the cause of this unconsciousness. Treatment was done by the doctor and it proved effective, but still he was feeling weakness. Therefore, in the middle of the year, meaning during the month of Jumada Thani, I visited him with the intention that I will serve him for a few days and then leave for Africa. First visit of England. Because of Hazrat Sheikh's illness, we had a meeting regarding his stay here during this month of Ramadan in 1399 after Hijrah. A difference arose regarding his traveling. Some people were of the opinion that Hazrat Sheikh should travel to Saharanpur, while some were strictly against this and supported his stay in Medina Sharif. Even when the central staff of Nizamuddin, including Hazrat Sheikh Ji, reached Medina, Hazrat Sheikh Ji, Nizamuddin Hazrat Ji, Maulana Inam Sahib, reached Medina, Hazrat Sheikh asked for their opinion. They advised him not to travel, but he was repeatedly asking about traveling. Once I said to him, Hazrat Sheikh, when traveling to Saharanpur, you should travel via London instead of Karachi and stay there for a few days before traveling to the final destination, Saharanpur. I had already requested him verbally as well as in written letters, written form, meaning letters, but perhaps this was the time of acceptance of my request. Hearing my request, he rose up in excitement without the support of any person and said, "What did you say? Say it again." I repeated my words. He smiled at this and said, "Abul Hassan, Yusuf says that London is on the way to Saharanpur." Hence, the decision was taken that, and despite my refusal, he gave the payment for his own ticket as well as of 4 of his khadims and said, "You don't need to purchase tickets for anyone. Everyone should travel on their own expense. I have 2 conditions for you to follow. The first is that I wouldn't accept any donation नहीं, any gift होना चाहिए, any gift hadiya. And secondly, I will not visit any place except 1 day's visit to Tablighi Markaz. So you will have to refuse in case someone asks you for my visit to any place. Ask for. Regarding his journey, I was hopeful on the basis of inspirational sayings of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and was of the opinion that everything regarding traveling journey will have been planned by Allah Almighty. Otherwise, Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah was very weak and aged. He was 85 at that time. And after traveling from Medina to Badr, he underwent the state of semi-consciousness. But as soon as we traveled after performing Umrah, he started feeling better. Even after reaching Darul Uloom, he was active just like he used to be in the previous years. He asked me what he will do there. I told him that we will announce the schedule of his 24-hour activities. The same thing happened, and besides the prayers of 5 times, he actively participated in after Maghrib prayer congregation and shaking hands with hundreds of men daily. Crowd, Majma. There used to be a crowd of 200 or 300 people daily, and on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, it usually exceeded 7,000 to 8,000 people, especially the day on which 40 marriage bonds were done, nikahs were done. Crowd was up to 8,000 to 10,000. And the day when Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah was leaving for India, Saharanpur, people were sleeping at every path and door besides the main building of Darul Uloom. That was the day when the biggest crowd was seen there. Some strange scenes. The night Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah was leaving for Saharanpur, he inaugurated teaching of Mishkat Sharif after Isha Salah. Initially, his stay was planned for 7 days, so the tent was hired for the same duration. Company was supposed to infix the tent somewhere else, hence they couldn't extend the duration above 3 days. We were worried about the remaining few days, that how we will make arrangements for Salah and congregation in this rainy season. But thanks to Almighty Allah, while inaugurating Hadith teaching, Hazrat Sheikh's stage was set in open air, and the people were sitting around it on grass in the open air. It seemed as if the angels have covered and warmed the space with the help of their wings. The same situation was during the Fajr prayer. After Maghrib prayer, there used to be a silent congregation which continued until Isha prayer. In this congregation, Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah suggested to recite Durood for 1,000 times. In a calm, silent atmosphere, lovers of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to recite Durood Sharif silently, but their tears exposed their love for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. At the end of the congregation, the Quran memorizers used to complete their journey of memorization, and supplications were recited then. Similarly, thousands of men used to see him daily, and it was the source of people's uh, fascination and attraction. Their love and happiness on seeing Hazrat Sheikh and the supplications they used to utter that clearly indicate that Hazrat Sheikh was a very popular person on the face of this earth. Similarly, members of Jamiatul Ulama England visited Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullahi, and after getting an appointment as per the custom, Allama Khalid Mahmood proclaimed the welcoming article which he had written already. In this article proclaimed, he read out. In this article, he expressed their happiness about the arrival of Hazrat Sheikh and also described the great advantages and benefits they had and those which could be availed in future. While listening to him, Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullahi used to reply briefly. For example, to express feelings of pleasure, he would say, is because of your long-standing love for me. Otherwise, I know my own situation. And in response to supplications, du'as, Ameen, may it be granted. And in response to description of advantage of his arrivals, may Allah make it happen. And upon being praised, he would say, this is all lie and nonsense. In addition to hidden blessings, apparent blessings were also there. Despite prohibition by Hazrat Sheikh, his lovers used to decorate the serviette and with variety of food for their Madani guests. Similarly, for the common serviettes, it was estimated before the visit that he will stay for 6 days and there will be a gathering of 600 to 700 people during the usual days and up to 1,500 to 2,000 during the remaining days, meaning Sunday, etc. But the duration of his stay was doubled, and also the estimate about the number of people visiting there proved totally wrong. During the usual days, there used to be a gathering of 2 to 3,000. Food items like oil, rice, etc. were purchased in quantity enough for the number of people estimated previously. But it was full of blessing, and these items were surplus. Cooked food usually used to be enough, even though the number of people was more than the estimated amount. Donation of 5,000 to suppliant. I had the chance to accompany Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullahi while traveling from London to Delhi. My wife and daughter were also accompanying me. During the last 10 days of Ramadan 1399, I fell ill seriously, and on the night before Eid, wasn't able to raise from my bedside to go to toilet. Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullahi handed over a urine bag to Brother Abul Hassan and said, don't come back until he urinates in it. After that, you will have to empty it out. I was aware that Hazrat Sheikh was always in need of his help. Despite my refusal and request, he wasn't ready to go back. At last, I agreed, and he left after performing the task assigned to him by Hazrat Sheikh and gave the empty urine bag to me. Despite this, my clothes and bed got dirty with urine because I was suffering from high fever. When I didn't recover after getting treated by a doctor and a Hakim, I traveled to Surat for the purpose of treatment. After various blood tests were done, no disease was diagnosed. Then I wrote a letter to him. The reason behind my illness is the sorrow because of your decreased affection for me. Briefly speaking, I didn't receive any donation. Again, donation, a gift. Any gift from you, though I used to receive it regularly. In response to this, he wrote, no one can increase the beauty of face by himself, but when the beauty is bestowed by Allah Almighty, the person feels proud of it. At the end, he wrote, I was worried about how to send you money. Abdul Hafiz said that I should hand over the money to him, and in turn, he will hand it over to you. Therefore, I am sending 5,000 Indian rupees to you. Now you should write the remaining demands and send the letter to my address in Medina. Accompanying Hazrat Sheikh during the journey to Faisalabad. On 17 Shaban 1400, when Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullah Alayhi traveled from Jeddah to Faisalabad, I too accompanied him. I reached Jeddah few days before to ensure that I accompanied him during this journey. After Ramadan, we reached Nizamuddin and I sought permission to go back. Second visit to England. I wished Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullahi Alayhi should spend another month of Ramadan here with us in England. But since last many years, since for the past few years, he has been observing i'tikaf along with his colleagues, and we don't have a permanent masjid here in Darul Uloom. Therefore, we couldn't succeed in making him stay for the whole month of Ramadan. After traveling to Faisalabad, it was decided many months ago that he will spend the month of Ramadan 1401 in Africa. Therefore, I traveled to Medina Sharif in the month of Shaban. Because of Hazrat Sheikh's disability and weakness, Aqar and Maulana Ismail left, Aqar meaning myself, left for 3 days, 3 days before, left for Africa, South Africa, so that his living room could be adjusted as per his nurse's personal needs. Then they reached Stanger, while Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullahi Alayhi was also with them. After spending Ramadan in South Africa, he stayed at Mahadul Rashid al-Islami Chipata for a few days and reached London in the morning of August 25, 1981 AD, Shawwal 24, 1401. Then, through the special plane, he landed on Manchester Airport along with his more than 50 colleagues and reached Darul Uloom at 2 p.m. Whilst in Stanger, he had said, Yusuf, I will have a stay of 25 days with you. When his stay in Zambia was increased by 2-3 days, he said, I will stay here 3 days less than the decided there. I will stay in England 3 days less than the decided duration. Hazrat Sheikh's illness. During this second journey, Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullah's illness worsened with every passing minute. Probably the reason behind it was that he traveled thousands of miles to visit different countries. Also, he was forced to travel a lot within South Africa, which was against his will. A letter written to the host, Hazrat Sheikh Maulana Yusuf Sahab. The fourth point was the following: I am very ill and you are responsible for my stay at various places. I am unable to travel now. But contrary to this, after departing from Stanger on Shawwal 3, he visited more than 12 places within 15 days and stayed at various places. He was forced to visit various places via plane or in a car. That's the reason his health worsened after reaching here, and it kept deteriorating day by day. Popular among public. Because of illness, Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullah Alayhi didn't attend any daily congregations regularly this time, but the crowd was more as compared to the one during his previous visit. Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullah Alayhi used to remain busy in his own activities. I love the words about him spoken by one of my close relatives. He said, thousands of people are visiting here. They know that Hazrat Sheikh doesn't make speech. They also know that he is unable to shake hands with them, but they still visit him. Such is the glory of Almighty. Obvious and endless blessings. During this second visit, daily congregations, zikr, khatme khajgan, speech, allegiance, marriage bonds, and every other activity seemed strange. Most of the time, Hazrat Sheikh used to keep his neck bowed down and remain preoccupied, but always remained attentive to the crowd. Therefore, during the congregation, there used to be cries of the people. It was because people were in the state of spirituality. This thing wasn't seen in the congregations before. even during the handshake, which was the cause of discomfort for him in this old age of 87 and used to happen now and then. He was so attentive that a big businessman told me, I have the allegiance with another saint, Sheikh, but the strange thing which happened to me is that while shaking Hazrat Sheikh's hand, I felt strong impulse within my body and was about to cry, but controlled it with great difficulty. Still, I feel the same condition when thinking about that. Hence, it was his blessing, and everyone there was blessed, especially on the day of Khatm Bukhari Sharif. Because of Hazrat Sheikh, doors and walls of Darul, grass and trees were under a strange effect, and an amazing atmosphere was prevailing. That's why, even before his arrival, there were cries and emotional slogans during Naat and sermons. He was fully attentive internally and externally. A poem about Darul was being recited. When the following rhyme was recited, complete. Sheikh's supplication is more effective, prominent in this world. At this, other Sheikh said, why are you humiliating me? The Sheikh was, जहाँ पर नुमाया दुआ शेख की है. That Sheikh's dua is evident over here in Darul Bari. बड़ा खूब तर ये मकाम बरी है जहाँ दी की जलवागरी है. मौलाना नादिर साहब wrote it, and there was this couplet. So Hazrat Sheikh said, जहाँ पर नुमाया दुआ शेख की है, why are you humiliating me? And then the second couplet was recited. Wherever there is enchantment of the providence nature, the reader misread it and used the word Yusuf instead of Qudrat. At this, Hazrat Sheikh said, Lo tu bi sun le. Listen to what is being said to you as well. Chal tune mera kiya to tera bhi aa gaya. As Hazrat Sheikh, that's how alert he was. The Sheikh was, जहां पर नुमाया दुआ शेख की है, जहां दस्ते कुदरत की जादूगरी है. तो हमारा दोस्त था, मेरा क्लासमेट याकूब मनमन, उसने पढ़ा, जहां पर नुमाया दुआ शेख की है, जहां दस्ते यूसुफ की जादूगरी है. The original share was Daste Yusuf, but Hazrat told him to change it from Yusuf to Qudrat. So Hazrat changed it, Daste Qudrat ki jadugari hai. But Yaqub Manman was nalayak, he read, jahan Daste Yusuf ki jadugari hai. So Hazrat Sheikh said, le tu bhi sun le. Suggesting the correct rhyme, he said the word enchantment. Isko theek karna padega. Samajhne padi translation. When Hazrat Sheikh Rahmatullah Ali completed his wudu, and was ready to go to the congregation, he said, you have made me very famous, which you shouldn't have done. After this, he started crying and said, have you not read the hadith? Allah Almighty assists his religion even through a sinful and immoral person. Allah Akbar. Hadith nahi padhi, Inna Allah yuayyidu hadha ad-deen bil-rajul al-fajir. Allah supports this deen with a fasiq fajir admi as well. What does that mean? As a sheikh is considering himself, I am fasiq fajir. Even with fasiq fajir, deen can be supported. Why did you make all this crowd and so much fame? Allahu Akbar. While crying in this condition, Hazrat Sheikh's whole body was trembling with tears. Trembling, and tears were shedding when he entered the tent. There was a huge crowd around the stage. Because of lack of space, sides of the tent were raised and his lovers were spread all around, even within the shrubs. Despite a large number of people present there, respect and grace for him was to the extent that the voice of a falling needle could be easily heard. There was so much complete silence. Before the arrival of Hazrat Sheikh at the stage, Maulana Salman was delivering his speech, who continued for a few minutes after his arrival. He narrated an incident of Ibn Arabi, the Imam of mysticism. Besides The crowd, Hazrat Sheikh was also crying after hearing the incident of Ibn Arabi. After the speech of Maulana Salman, recitation of Hadith session was initiated. No one was aware that it was the last lesson of Hadith by Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullahi alayhi, meaning he died after this when he returned to Medina about 4 or 5 months later. So that was his last Hadith of his whole life. Firstly, Hadith Musalsal bil Awwaliyat was recited. Then the last Hadith of Sahih Bukhari and the first Hadith of Sahih Sitta, Darimi and Mishkat. It is impossible to depict the picture of the atmosphere during which Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullahi remained the teacher of Hadith in Darul Hadith of Masjid Kulsumiyya, and a group of students used to be in front of him. Thereafter, on the occasion of Khatm Bukhari and Musalsalat, there used to be a large crowd. But the number of people today was more than 10,000, and they were all sitting in a respectful manner. Stage was in the center of the crowd and comprised of many stairs. A few students were sitting on it respectfully. Hazrat Sheikh was made to sit on the stage slightly higher so that all his ushaq sitting around him could see him. On this occasion, Hazrat Sheikh delivered a speech of few minutes. Its summary was described by himself as follows. Imam Bukhari started his book with the hadith, actions are dependent on intention, and ended it with the hadith, the two kalimats are very beloved to Allah. The summary of the whole Sahih Bukhari is that there are two tasks in this world. Sincerity should be in the heart at all times, and zikrullah should be on the tongue at all times. This is the motive, aim of Bukhari, Imam Bukhari Rahmatullahi alayhi. The last Muhabbat. During the last days of Hazrat Sheikh's illness, we received a letter from one of the students of Darul Uloom. It was a few days before Hazrat Sheikh's death. The student discussed his personal matters in the letter. He also mentioned his sincerity in servitude as well as his personal mistakes. In my absence, Sufi Iqbal read out the letter to Hazrat Sheikh. Hazrat Sheikh was pleased at this and said, "Let me know when Yusuf arrives. I will kiss his face." When I arrived, he said, "Come here so that I may kiss your forehead." I came forward and kissed his forehead and hand. He said, "Hey, I called you so that I may kiss you. I am pleased to read the letter of your student. Convey my du'as to the student by writing letter to him, and also let him know that the one who takes himself as a capable person is actually incapable one." Meaning the one who thinks himself as lowly and incapable will rise to the heights. The students had wrote about his humility, humbleness. Hazrat Sheikh was happy at that. A few strange incidents, finishing off, there's 2 more minutes, we'll finish it. Seeing Malakul Maut, Hazrat Sheikh Israel, क्या लिख दिया Hazrat Sheikh Israel? Seeing Malakul Maut Israel, alayhi salam, during his last days of life, I was helping him make ablution for tahajjud. Hazrat Sheikh asked who? I replied that I am Yusuf. He said, "Once again, I saw Malakul Maut today." I asked if he had a dream about Malakul Maut. He replied, "No, I was lying down and awake when he came in, and we kept smiling and talking for a long time." This was the second time he saw Malakul Maut. Firstly, he saw him approximately 25-30 years ago. He had shared that incident with Mufti Muqbil Ahmad. He narrates as follows. I had an abscess on my forehead which was being treated by a Hakim. I was told a treatment which will dissolve all the matter present with the abscess. Those were the nights of Ramadan. Some hours before the start of Sahri time, I was in so much pain and felt I am near to death. I am close to dying. Whilst thinking that my family will not eat Sahri in case I die, I told them to eat suhoor quickly. Because of the severity of pain, I was opening and closing my eyes periodically while thinking Malakul Maut will be coming soon. but that pain was actually because of the abscess getting dissolved. So I recovered gradually, and as usual, when I was in my library, uh, a beautiful man appeared before me, though stairs and doors, the stairs doors were closed. I asked, "Who are you?" He replied, "I am the person who you have been waiting for. You were waiting for me during the previous night." I said, "Yes, then take me with you." And he replied, "Not yet." Seeing Malakul Maut in a dream. During the second visit of England, when Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah was admitted in hospital because of severe weakness, we found that his condition was very critical on the second day of his admission. His condition was critical to the extent that the arrangement for a special plane from London to Medina was made. When Hazrat Shaykh visited Darul after recovery, meaning in case he dies, he can be taken there and buried in Medina Sharif. When Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah visited Darul after recovering, we mentioned the above arrangements of the special plane to him. He said, "Don't worry about my life. I am not going to die in this way. It's a promise with me." Then he said, "Probably you would have come to know the dream regarding Malakul Maut. Once I fell ill in Makkah. During those days, I had a dream that a beautiful young man came near me. I asked, 'Who are you?' He replied, 'Malakul Maut.' I said, 'Take me with you.' He said, 'Not from here. I will come after you reach Medina.' Later, when I settled in Medina, I had a dream again in which the same young man came and was going somewhere. I said to him, 'You had told me that you will come to me after I reach Medina. I am in Medina now.' He smiled and said, 'Still some work is to be done by you,' meaning work of deen is to be taken from you. Approximately 3 days before his death, he pointed to a corner and said, 'See, Shaitan is standing there. Can you see him? Though can you see him? Though Shaitan reached here, as mentioned in the hadith, but had no courage to come forward to Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah alayhi. 3 to 4 days ago, Maulana Najibullah was helping Hazrat Shaykh to go to the toilet. I was there in the nearby room. It was after 12 a.m. Midnight. Someone outside the room cried loudly, 'Najibullah, Najibullah.' I rushed outside but found no one there. A similar incident happened to my mother. She wanted to complete the recitation of Quran and dedicated it to a deceased person. Sorry, my mother here. Similar incident happened with my mother as well once. She wanted to complete the recitation of Quran and dedicate it to a deceased person, allowing him or her to earn good deeds. Someone called his or her name loudly, though no one knew her name except 2-3 family members. Definitely, it was the voice of an angel. Almighty Allah knows the reason behind this. Yes. Other Sheikh's our Hazrat's autobiography finished. Corrections need to be done. We'll do them, inshallah. Hazrat Sheikh's visit here was Ajib. First time when he came, I was in Darul in Albi Awwal. Second time, I think I was in Albi Chaharo reading the Riyadus Salihin. So we were small. We used to run around, but you could see. We used to go to a Sheikh, as the Sheikh's hand in the evening, and we shook his hands many times. And in the second safar, he gave us all ijazat to teach Hadith Sharif. He said, our Hazrat, may Allah reward him, he asked Hazrat that ijazat for our talaba of Hadith. So he said, okay, Dora, Mishkat, Riyadus Salihin students. We were studying Riyadus Salihin. So Hazrat Sheikh had a small booklet as ijazat for Hadith. And he would sign it. He couldn't sign it. He had a stamp with his signature. And he would stamp it. So those booklets were few. So our Hazrat said, the main page of Ijazat Hadith, all students copy on paper with their own handwritings, and then we will stamp it. So we copied that, and our name was written on there, and his stamp was given. So we had Ijazat of teaching Hadith from Hazrat Shaykh Rahmatullah. So Alhamdulillah, it's an honor that we can pass on that Ijazat now. Subhanallah bihamdi, subhanakallahumma bihamdika. नशहदु अन ला इलाहा इल्ला अंता नस्तगफिरुका व नतूबु